here we are. Welcome. I am so ecstatic right now. This is Tap the Dial. We're talking beer. I'm your co-host, Justin Hull. Ross Maxwell as well with me.
Yes, this is a long time coming, I think.
This is a process in the making in my mind, and we are excited to be here because this world has a need for a radio show about beer.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I don't know why this hasn't been thought of before, but we're going to do our best to bring you some of the news of what's going on in the beer world.
Absolutely. A half an hour dedicated to the world of craft beer. In fact, we're going to check in with a brewery that we both love, Ross, Ale Asylum out of Madison, Wisconsin. Hathaway Dilba, one of the co-owners, is going to join us. The Hopalicious. Everyone knows the Hopalicious, and we're going to be talking about that and
That's
beyond.
Right.
Great story there with Ale Asylum. Well, let's get things rolling how we plan to do it each and every week here, Ross. Let's go inside the fridge and talk about what we've been drinking the past week. I'll get it going right here, and I know I shared it with you. I absolutely love this one. And I'll tell you a story about this one, Ross. This was the beer when I saw it on the shelf. The idea for the show came about because I've been getting into the hoppy beers.
Right.
You know, a lot of the hops, a lot of the IPAs, double IPAs, even you can call it a triple IPA in this case. But I turn the corner, look on the shelf, and right in front of me is the Hoptimum by Sierra Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I got to try this one. And absolutely loved it. It's what, over 10%, I think 10.4 off the top of my head. And you're talking about something that for 10.4 is as smooth as it is. I want to share this. I want to talk about this. I want to tell people how great the Hoptimum is by Sierra Nevada. We're radio guys by trade.
Right.
Let's be honest with that one. So why not a program, the Hoptimum? There's always one or two Hoptimums in the fridge. I know it comes in the 4-packs there, but it's always a staple go-to, or at least it's been a staple here this summer for me.
And like you mentioned, you know if it's got the ABV, the alcohol by volume is up there, they're only going to sell it in a 4-pack.
That's my other advice. If you're like us, and we're regular guys, we're regular beer drinkers, we're learning on this journey here with Tap the Dial, and that's one of the other great things about it. A 4-pack is a good thing. Don't be scared because there's only 4. If it's a 4-pack, it's a 4-pack for a reason, and you may want to try it because there's something delicious in those bottles.
Yes, there is. In my fridge this summer, I discovered a beer that's out of Door County Brewing in Bailey's Harbor, Wisconsin. They got a nice little brewery, not a huge operation, but they do a number of different beers, and one of them is a wit beer. It's Little Sister Wit Beer, and I got to tell you, this thing is fantastic. This beer is it comes from the Belgian ale family. It's a wit beer. It's 5.4% alcohol by volume, and it's done like a typical wit beer would be with the coriander and orange peel. They've added a little extra spices to it, however, and it really balances well. It is very flavorful beer, and I was really surprised by the flavor. I mean, it's not overpowering, but it's balanced well. And the first thing I thought was, it's like a meal in your mouth. There's so many flavors going on. I thought of Willy Wonka in the movie where they're in the research room and they've got the gum that's a 7-course meal. That's what I thought of when I got the Little Sister. In fact, I bought a growler of it. I don't buy growlers that often, but I did buy a growler of the Little Sister. It was that good.
And I know a lot of the folks in Wisconsin, again, we'll tell you more about ourselves coming up here in a little bit, but a lot of people in Wisconsin, it's such a tourist location. Yes. So if you are up into Door County.
At Door County Brewing, Bailey's Harbor, Wisconsin, right on the shore. Come on out and check that out. They got a nice little tap room, and they do live music there. It's great.
It's a fun time of year, too, because you're starting to transition into the fall beers as well. You got the Oktoberfest coming out,
right.
The pumpkins. I went crazy on the pumpkins this week. It's Southern Tier, the Imperial Pumpkin picked up as well. Dogfish Head, their pumpkin. Love what Dogfish Head does. And the Oktoberfest, too. I tried the Goose Island Oktoberfest coming out of Chicago, Goose Island, and really enjoyed that one. I know I actually brought you a couple of bottles of that.
Yeah, I did, and it was very good. I'm not a big Oktoberfest beer guy, but, you know, if it tastes good, I don't care.
It's beer. If it
It's
tastes
beer.
good, it's
So-
absolutely good. Well, we're going to step out here. We'll come back, and we're going to learn more about the great folks at Ale Asylum out of Madison, Wisconsin. Hathaway Dilba, one of the co-owners, she'll be joining us here on the program to talk about their operation, their lineup as well. And a little bit later on, we'll tell you what's new in brew. You can get a hold of us. It's real simple. All over the social media world at Tap the Dial. That's on Facebook.com. That's Twitter. That's Instagram. Able to get a hold of Tap the Dial early so we can make it easy on everybody with no underscores like our friend Hathaway coming up here with that Ale Asylum. So we'll get to that. We'll come back. He's Ross. I'm Justin. This is Tap the Dial. And welcome back as we tap the dial. He's Ross. I'm Justin. TapTheDial.com. That's our website. Find more information on the show as well as past shows and other things there. Social media at Tap the Dial on Twitter. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, all those great social media sites. And really excited to welcome in today's guest, Ross, co-owner with Ale Asylum out of Madison. I know you're a big Hopalicious fan, as I
am. That's my go-to beer when I'm at the bar.
Well, let's get into it with the co-owner, Hathaway Dilba. Hathaway, thank you so much for taking a few minutes with us here today.
Hi.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, let's go back to Ale Asylum's roots. Founded in 2006. I'm sure this is a loaded question. Take as much time as you need because we want to hear the story. How did things get going with Ale Asylum?
That is a loaded question. I was expecting what is your how do you feel about the healthcare reform act? I was a little nervous. Ale Asylum has a very interesting beginning. Otto and Dean are co-founders. Otto, Dilba, and Dean Coffee used to work at the Angelic Brewing Company in Madison. And, of course, that business has now closed their doors, but they came up with an idea of wanting to produce Angelic beer off-site and distribute it in the greater Madison area and eventually to the state. And the owner said, this isn't quite on our bucket list for the restaurant, so why don't you guys go ahead, no hard feelings, go out and start it on your own. You just have to completely change the branding, name, recipes have to change by X amount of percentage, etc. And it was a very amicable parting. And so we did. We found a storefront space in the strip mall, surprisingly, of an incubator-type business building on Madison's northeast side, and opened our doors 1 year later. And subsequently, Angelic was amazing and carried everything we made. They had every brand of Ale Asylum beer that we made at the time on top of their business before they closed. And we really appreciate that.
You've been in existence less than 10 years, but you made a pretty big change by moving up to a 47,000 square foot facility a few years ago. Was that an easy decision for you?
It was. That's probably more of a loaded question than the last one. It seemed, I will tell you, it wasn't seamless. Of course, no business entity is going to go through something like that, a transition of that size, and have it be seamless. It was as easy as possible. One of the reasons why we were able to do this is because co-founder Otto Dilba had the genius mind to realize that we're not going to grow as a business unless through controlled expansion. And we consistently kept our hands on the reins, kept things moving at a level where we could consistently keep up with product demand. As the demand grew, we wanted to make sure that we had enough liquid, of course, to satiate the inmates out there that wanted to seek asylum. So we took it slow and low, and it really paid off. And whenever we have other breweries that are younger approach us, we always give that advice. It's so tempting when you get these calls from LA, we need your beer in LA, or New York City, or Japan, or what. It's really tempting to jump on that ship and go, but really make sure that you can handle your own backyard, and that was the key to our growth. So as far as making the decision, it was a little bit sooner than we anticipated to move into this building, but it was a much-needed decision to be made, and we're very happy we did it. The dust has settled a little bit, so we're in a good spot.
Where is your distribution set now? How far-reaching are you guys currently?
We are currently in Illinois from top to tip, and, of course, our own state, Wisconsin. There's just some minute slivers of the state of Wisconsin that were not available, but we just opened up a new distribution territory in Wausau, and it goes as far as I believe the Tomahawk Rhinelander area. This is a new territory for us, and we're very excited about that.
When did you realize you were onto something with the beer and you had something that was marketable and ready for everyone?
Probably when Dean was making beer at the Angelic. He was winning some pretty awesome awards through that brewing. He was brewing on a, not to, of course, to defile what they offered him to brew on, but it was a very different system with many different complicated challenges. And, of course, Madison City water is a blast to work with. So I would say that because Dean's ethic and Otto's ethic is do what's best for the beer, I think that is really shown through in many different ways from the beginning, to current, to and also to the future. I think we knew in the very beginning when we tested our first batch at the smaller brewery that it was a winner. That Dean, even though we changed our recipes, significantly from the Angelic, that he was still able to work in the parameters of his style of brewing and still have it shine.
We're talking about Asylum today on the program out of Madison, Wisconsin. A co-owner, Hathaway Dilba, joining us here on Tap the Dial. Hathaway, what is a brainstorming session with Dean and Otto like? Can you kind of take us into, what goes into the decision-making process? Okay, we're going to try to brew something new. We're going to try to go and do this.
Not legally. Without getting us in a lot of trouble. No, I'm kidding. They're old friends. We're all old friends. It's just like you can imagine. It's a bunch of us sitting around. Maybe it's after beer over a pint. Heck, maybe it's 10 p.m. and we're exhausted in the office. Otto mainly is the brainstormer, and he'll throw some stuff out there. This is the amazing thing about Otto is that, and aside from running most of the operations of the business, the man does all the logos and everything. So he's got this right and left brain. I call it the mega brain. And what he does when he does a logo, for instance, is that when he thinks he's onto something good, he walks down to the kitchen, talks to the kitchen staff about it. He goes and talks, to a friend that happens to be sitting in the bar. He wants everyone's opinion. He's not a lone wolf in this process. And I think when a lot of artists and designers are, he's looking for that input. And so it's really kind of a communal effort.
Oh, you've been working on some new beers. We saw that the new one now is Kink, which is a Belgian-style Abbey.
I definitely can't tell you how the research was done for that one. That one I'm going to keep my mouth shut on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But for the average beer drinker, how would you describe Kink for someone?
Sure. Kink is a Belgian-style Abbey. Dean has this affinity for Trappist-style brewing. He brews in the spirit of the German purity law, where I'm talking water, hops, malt, and yeast. This was a really fun beer for us because although we're known for our hoppier ales, we have a Belgian beer portfolio in the bottled market and in our tasting room that's pretty impressive because of his affinity for that style of brewing. And this one has been remarkable on the market. It's getting a lot of good feedback from people who don't even normally drink beer. And they respect this beer as a stiffer, being it's a higher alcohol content. It's smooth, and we're very proud of this one. It's joining the lineup with Triple Nova, which is also limited seasonal, and then Mercy Grand Cru, which is coming out in November sometime. So we will hopefully have a fourth Belgian joining the lineup next year.
When we talk about Asylum around here, I mean, Hopalicious, we mentioned it before, is usually the one that comes up. What do you guys look at as your most popular beer?
Hopalicious indeed is the mother's milk for our inmates and ourselves. It's our flagship beer. It gives us a percentage of our sales in the market. So it's that one's it's a very approachable and balanced American pale ale, considering it has 11 editions of Cascade hops in it. The novice and the experienced beer drinker can both enjoy it.
I like how you say, first off, you call everyone the inmates. That's phenomenal right there. And when you talk about Hopalicious for the novice, because, as a hophead, as I would call myself, that's one of the go-to ones, I think, because of what you mentioned right there. It's for the novice. It's maybe that transition into some of the doubles and the triples and that sort of thing.
Exactly, and it's counterintuitive. It's funny, I wouldn't consider it a true entrance beer or gateway beer to lure, let's say, a Miller Lite drinker or a wine and spirit drinker into our market. But somebody who's just starting to dabble in craft beers, they seem to really appreciate that beer. It's rarely do I have somebody try it at a festival or sampling and say, "Oh no, this is too hoppy for me." So it's balanced. It's a nice one. Oh.
The Ballistic was out this spring to fall, and it's winding down now. Explain the difference between that and the Hopalicious.
Sure, Ballistic. Oh my gosh, that one. Somebody did a fabulous review on. I think it was, it had to have been Rate Beer, might have been Beer Advocate. They did a countdown about what happens in your mouth and in your system when you take a sip of Ballistic, and it's priceless. You should check it out. It's on our website. I think that beer is phenomenal. Of course, that one is a lot more aggressive in nature as far as bitterness. For somebody who possibly would be a Miller Lite drinker may not appreciate that one as much. Not to put a negative spin on it, but it has a huge fan base. It used to be a very it used to have like a 3 or 4 month run, and now it's a half year because people loved it. And it's made with Amarillo hops, which is a patent variety of hops, and it's just wonderful. Everything from the smell to the way it travels, on your taste buds is phenomenal. It's a flavor experience that I don't even know if I could describe properly.
What other highlights there on the roster would you like to mention for us here?
Oh, we have a release coming up of 2 beers that have never been out in the market before. This is our first dual release. Big Slick Stout is coming out, and Demento. And Demento is a session pale ale that used to be part of our limited Asylum series, which we ran primarily in the tasting room. They were experiments and one-offs from the breweries. The inmates at first were calling the oops beers. We don't have time for oops beers. So these were literally experiments that we were able to run through the system that we happen to have time for. And this one, Demento, is wonderful. It is made with Cascade hops and Centennial hops. And the Centennial hops we usually use with our double IPA, Satisfaction Jackson. It's a 4.7 ABV, highly sessionable. It should be, given its style name. There's a big trend, of course, you guys probably know this, towards session IPAs right now, and there's a lot of good and bad acclaim coming for that style from the serious beer drinkers. A lot of people call it hop water. We gave this Demento personality, so it would not be labeled as hop water. It's great. And, of course, Big Slick Stout is Dean Stout. We used to call it an oatmeal stout, but it doesn't have an ounce of oatmeal in it. Can't call it that. So we're just calling it a stout. We're not really labeling it with a style. And that one has a little bit higher ABV, of course.
Well, I know Hathaway, a lot of people find their way to Madison these days, whether they're football fans going to cheer on the Badgers or just a great location, even to go pay a visit for a weekend in Wisconsin. Tell us about your setup there and what listeners will find if they come visit you guys at Ale Asylum.
Absolutely. We would love to see all of you. We have a tasting room that has a capacity of about, I think it's close to 300 if all the facilities used. In the tasting room, you'll find a bar. It's a nice open space. We have a lofted lounge. And then, of course, we have our restaurant. And this is a unique business model for us because we use this mainly to communicate with our inmates, to have them experience our beers up and close. Our staff is very knowledgeable. They have to go through Beer University, and our general managers put together a testing and evaluation program to evaluate to make sure that they can talk effectively about our products. And the menu is limited. We don't want to compete with the area establishments that kindly serve our products. We don't want to be the best fish fry when there's one of the best fish fries in the state across the street. We don't want to have live music here when our dear friend Kathy Detmers owns the High Noon Saloon and has a great music lineup. We just make it simple. It's just fantastic. And we do tasters, of course, and tours on Sundays, every hour on the hour from noon until 5.
I know you guys are out there on the Twitterverse, Facebook as well. What are some other ways listeners can find you guys, too, with the World Wide Web there?
Oh, we got our of course, www.aleasylum.com. And we do have an Instagram account. And the Instagram and Twitter handles are at ale_asylum. Some person stole at Ale Asylum and they won't give it back to us. No, they haven't done anything with it for 5 years. It's kind of a dead in water handle, so didn't like having that underscore in there. But what are you going to do?
Does anyone call it the World Wide Web anymore too?
I hear that one a lot, and
Okay.
I also hear the interwebs. Interwebs has been a trend lately with people with me. So.
Well, Hey, then if people are saying it, then I'm still okay with it. Co-owner with
are.
Co-owner with Ale Asylum in Madison, Hathaway Dilba, taking the time to chat with us here. Thank you so much for all the insight, and can't wait to get down there one of these weekends and visit you guys, Hathaway.
Thank you, gentlemen. We would welcome it. Please let me know when you're coming so I can buy you a pint.
Absolutely, we'll do that. Hathaway Dilba, co-owner with Ale Asylum. We'll be back to wrap things up. This is Tap the Dial. Back to wrap things up here. Tap the Dial. We're talking beer. He's Ross. I'm Justin. Great stuff from Hathaway. Talking about Ale Asylum, and we mentioned it in there with them, but how great is it? The inmates at the asylum.
That's funny. I mean, that makes it more fun to go and visit.
That's exactly what this is about. It's about fun. It's about enjoying ourselves. About talking about beer, and hopefully give you some ideas of what you can try. And that's the other thing too. And since this is show numeral uno, here is where we would hear your suggestions. What's in your fridge? What are you drinking? What are you looking forward to? You can tweet those in every week. You can send those to us as well on Facebook. So this is that portion of the show, but as we get things rolling here, Ross, we'll delay that one till next time.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to hear from you.
Absolutely. What's new in brew? Let's get into it. Ross, I know you're an outdoors guy. How about Carhartt joining the ranks of the beer world?
Carhartt has partnered with New Holland Brewing Company, and we'll talk about some of their beers. They do some really good stuff in Michigan at their brewery. But there is a new beer out called Carhartt Woodsman, a barrel-aged American pale ale, heavy on the toasted oak, sweet malty deliciousness, according to the description here. Sounds like it's very good. A lot of people might be wary of companies tying their name in on some beers, but I'm kind of intrigued to try this beer. It looks like it's going to be pretty good.
Do they have you at sweet, malty, or deliciousness?
And all of it, yes.
all three of those words. So, yeah, Carhartt with the beer. I'm a sports guy, and we'll tell you more about ourselves here in just a moment. And I read an article earlier this year where they were talking about the best craft beer baseball stadiums. Here, Huffington Post had it, the best NFL stadiums for craft beer. I don't think Lambeau Field's going to be on that list, Ross.
No,
I don't think Lambeau Field is on that list, nor is it on that list. Here's the top five. Pittsburgh Steelers Heinz Field, checking in at number 5. They got local favorite Church Brew Works, Harpoon, Anchor Steam, Great Lakes Brewing, just to name a few. Carolina Panthers, checking in at number 4. There's some good breweries in the North Carolina area. That's really a budding area. New Belgium, part of that Big Boss Brewing Company as well. So those are a couple that you can get at Bank of America Stadium in Carolina. Reliant Stadium in Houston, Texas. They got Karbach Brewing Company, Shinerbach. Shinerbach has been doing this for a long time. I know since, I was in college, which isn't a long time ago, dare I say. Detroit Lions Ford Field. You mentioned New Holland Brewing, and there they are at Ford Field. Bell's Brewery. Bell's Hop Slam, as a hophead, oh my goodness. Have you had the Hop Slam?
I have not yet.
Not only does it have one of the greatest packages of all time, that stuff will, dare I say, make it a quick night for you. Some good stuff there. And Seattle, CenturyLink Field, where the Seahawks play. They have stuff from that northwest portion of the state, getting California and just the craft brewing that's there. 30 different beers for sale throughout the stadium from the craft beer side of things. That's CenturyLink Field. So football-wise, if you happen to make a trip out to one of those.
Not to say that Lambeau Field does not have a good, or at least a starting of a craft beer following, because I know they do sell Wisco Disco. You can buy that at Lambeau Field. Stillmank Brewery out of Green Bay makes that fantastic beer, and they have some other ones as well. So just didn't make the list this time, but we're working on it.
Working on getting Lambeau Field up there, absolutely. Ross and I from Wisconsin. I'm sports radio host for 6.5 years. I'm still doing sports stuff on the radio, but it's something I wanted to dabble into. As I mentioned before, there's nothing like this around. There's no show about beer. Let's do it. It's a passion of mine. It's something I enjoy. It's a hobby. Regular guy. I'm not a beer intelligent professor type person by any means, just a regular guy who enjoys trying new beers, and that's kind of the avenue there.
And I've had 19 years in rock radio, but most of those years I've been drinking beer, and I should know a little bit about it by now. I don't know a lot about the specifics of the technical stuff of it. All I know is when I like a beer,